Be honest with me for a second. Have you ever looked at your portfolio, watched the market do something scary and thought, I think I know better than everyone else right now? Yeah, me too. More times than I'd like to admit. And that's actually what I want to talk about today. Not the market, not what it's going to do next. Nobody knows that, including me. What I want to talk about is the stuff we tell ourselves right before we make a move we'll probably regret. The little excuses, the stories we build in our heads that feel so reasonable in the moment. So today I'm going to walk through 4 of the most common ones, and I'm going to show you why each one falls apart when you actually look at the numbers. Excuse number 1. I can tell when it's about to drop. This is the big one. This is the one that feels the most true. Because hindsight makes everything look obvious. You look back at 2022, the market's down 18%. And you think, of course that was coming. The signs were everywhere. But here's where I have to be honest with you. That feeling only shows up after the fact. Vanguard actually surveyed investors for 8 years, asking them to predict what the market would do over the next 12 months. And the number one thing that predicted, their answer wasn't insight, it wasn't analysis, it was simply whatever had just happened. Good year behind them. They predicted more good years ahead, bad year behind them. They predicted more bad years ahead, and they were wrong almost every single time. The data shows people are consistently confident right before they're consistently wrong. But here's what that number doesn't tell you. It's not that these investors were dumb. It's that our brains are running an ancient program that was never built for the stock market. Excuse number 2. I'll just sit in cash until it calms down. This one feels responsible, cautious even, like you're being the smart one while everyone else panics. And look, I get the appeal, but here's the twist that changes everything. The best days in the market and the worst days in the market tend to live right next door to each other. Over the 20 years from 2003 to 2023, staying fully invested got you about 9.8% a year. Missed just the 10 best days out of that entire 20-year stretch. 10 days out of over 7,000. And your return gets cut nearly in half, down to 5.6%. 10 days, less than 2 weeks total. That's the cost of waiting for things to calm down, because the recovery usually shows up while everything still feels terrifying. Not after. Excuse number 3. I'll get back in once I feel better about things. This is the sequel to excuse number 2. And it's just as expensive. Morningstar runs a study every year called Mind the Gap, and it compares what a fund actually earned to what the average investor in that fund actually experienced. Over the 10 years ending in 2024, the funds themselves earned 8.2% a year. The average investor in those same funds earned 7%. That's not a typo. Same fund, different result. A 1.2 percentage point gap. And Morningstar found this represents about 15% of the fund's total return, essentially left on the table. Now, that stat is an average across millions of people. And I want to pause here because this is important. You are not a statistic. That average doesn't know your income, your goals, or your specific account. But averages exist because most people are doing the same thing at the same time, which is buying high when they feel confident and selling low when they feel scared. On $100,000, that gap is the difference between ending up with roughly $219,000 and roughly $197,000, $22,000, just from moving your money at the wrong moments. Excuse number 4. It's just a small tweak. It's not a big deal. This one's sneaky, because no single tweak feels dangerous. But Morningstar also found something interesting here. The funds where investors captured almost the entire return were the boring ones. Target date funds. Balanced allocation funds, the ones you basically can't fiddle with because there's nothing to fiddle with. The funds where investors lost the most ground were the ones that invited constant decision sector funds, specialty funds, anything that tempts you to check it, guess about it, and act on the guess. So here's the pattern interrupt moment. I want you to sit with the amount of attention you pay to your portfolio is not the same thing as the amount of skill you are applying to it. Sometimes more attention just means more chances to talk yourself into a bad decision. So if predicting doesn't work, and reacting doesn't work, what actually does? This is the part most people get wrong, including me for a long time. I used to think good investing meant staying informed and ready to act. Turns out, for most people, most of the time, good investing means building a system that doesn't need you to act at all. There's a concept in behavioral economics called inertia, and it's honestly one of the most underrated forces in personal finance. Andy Reid, who runs behavioral economics research at Vanguard, put it simply, nothing is the most powerful force in behavioral finance. And you can actually see this play out in the real world. 401k plans with automatic enrollment have participation rates around 90%. Plans where you have to opt in yourself, sit closer to 60%. Same employees, same benefits, same fund choices. The only thing that changed was the default. There's an even wilder example of this outside of investing. Entirely a study by Eric Johnson and Daniel Goldstein looked at organ donation across European countries. With an opt-in system had donation rates near 0. Countries with an opt-out system had donation rates near 100%. Same people, same countries, same culture roughly. The default did almost all the work. So the question isn't how do I get better at predicting the market? The question is how do I build a setup where I don't have to? That looks like automatic contribution. So you're always investing without deciding to. It looks like automatic rebalancing. So when your portfolio drifts, it gets pulled back to your original risk level without you having to watch it. It looks like target date or allocation funds. The boring ones, the ones that quietly outperform because there's nothing for you to mess with. And once in a while, when you feel that itch, that urge to predict, to react, to do something, try this instead. Pull up a chart of the market going back 50 years, not the last 12 months, 50 years. You'll see drops, you'll see scary stretches, and you'll see the line. Over and over, keep climbing afterward. It's a strangely calming thing to look at. Here's what I keep coming back to. The market doesn't care what either of us thinks is going to happen next week. It never has. But the person who sets up a good system, automates it, and genuinely leaves it alone, that person isn't gambling. They're just letting the math do what the math has always done. So tell me, when the market gets scary, are you a check it constantly person or a don't look person? I'm genuinely curious which one you are. If this hits differently, subscribe. Finn posts every week and he doesn't waste your time.